For our last proof in this extra practice, we were given a word bank, and we just have to fill in the missing pieces. We were told that XU bisects angle WUX, and WU is congruent to VU. So they kind of filled in our freebies for us already. They put the given information first with given as our reason, but we're trying to prove last, and sorry, that should say triangle WUX is congruent to triangle VUX. Okay. Well, it's nice they gave us a word bank, but I like to kind of think about how I'm going to fill in my reasons. And I notice in my given info I have a vocab word. I have bisects. Okay? So I'm going to look in my possible reasons because I know it's supposed to be definition of that vocab word. So I'm going to look for something about definition of bisecting and write down here that has my vocab word. So my reason is going to be definition of an angle bisector because I'm bisecting an angle. So that's going to be my reasoning. I'm going to wait to fill in my statements. I like to fill in my reasons first. Right? And so I took care of that. They told me that WU and VU are congruent, and they marked it for me. So I took care of that. That's already taken care of. So once we take care of our given information, look at the types of triangles. And again, these are shared side triangles. So whenever we have shared side triangles, we're using this property right here, reflexive property. Okay? And it's in my word bank, so I feel pretty good about that. Because the shared side is always congruent to itself. Okay? So let's go back and fill in our statements. So I know when I have an angle bisector, I know I'm going to have congruent angles as my statement with that reason. So definition of an angle bisector is going to have two angles being congruent to each other. So I look in my possible statements. Those are my two possible choices that I can use because those are two angles being congruent. The other ones are segments. So I'm going to look at my diagram and mark what angles have to be congruent and see which ones of those match. So I know that XU, this line right here, is cutting this big angle in half. So that means these two little angles are the ones that have to be congruent. So when I look at how these angles are written, if I look at the top one, and I'm going to highlight how the first angle, and if it highlights the correct angle, then I know that's the one I'm using, but if it doesn't, I can't use it. So this one's saying UWX. It's saying this orange angle. What I want is this green angle right here. So this is not naming the correct angles, so then I know it has to be this bottom one. WUX is congruent to angle VUX. And I'm just going to check that real quick. Okay, again, I want these two green angles right there. So when I highlight WUX, I want it to be that green angle. WUX, that looks good. VU to X, that looks good. I highlighted the angles with the green arc, so I know that's correct. Okay? Scratch that one out, I used it. So now, whenever I have reflexive property, it's stating that the shared side, this side right there, is congruent to itself. And the shared side is XU. So when I look in my word bank, this guy right here, XU is congruent to XU. It's the shared side congruent to itself. The other one isn't really helpful. Okay. And then we're done. And then, oh, we're not done actually. We still have to state which one we used. And right now, these are the only two we know. So we know it's not any of these. We haven't talked about those. So it can't be that right now. It could be eventually, but not right now. So then you just have to look and see what you marked. I marked two sides, and then we marked the angle in between. So whenever we mark two sides and the angle in between, that's side, angle, side. Because we have a side, then an angle, and then a side. Side, angle, side. And then we are done.